Yeah. Can you speak up about idea of justice? That was, yes, go ahead.
Justice is for everyone, not for weak and not just for powerful.
Stronger, yeah.
And further, he added that a person should do what his innate nature wants to do.
Yes, 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 yes.
And he further added like a just for a just soul makes a just man, a
Yeah.
just man makes a just society, a just society makes a
Just a
just
state.
state.
Very good.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Very
And
good.
Socrates wants to know a soul to do what his innate nature wants, and
What is, yeah, yeah, yeah. What is the man is best suitable for?
yes, sir.
Naturally. So as per the natural aptitude, one should act accordingly, right? Yeah, very good.
And others harmonizes and balances this world.
Very good. Very good. Justice has also a tectonic nature. It harmonizes and balances the other thing in of the soul.
In order to establish either state wants a man to do just his innate nature as
Hmm.
well, and that's the only way where we can establish a identity.
An ideal state. Right, right. Very good. Anything else? Anything else? Yes, Ayushi, do you want to contribute? Yeah.
Yes, sir. I can tell the background of it. I guess the person in the class, she has told about what's the Plato's idea of justice. I can
Right.
tell the background of it, that how it came to be. So
Hmm.
there was this ongoing discussion at Cephalus' place,
Hmm.
and Cephalus, who was an aristocrat as well as a metic, he
Right.
started this argument, and he emphasized that telling truth and paying one's debt is the right conduct and is the justice. To which Socrates responded that this can't be justice, because there can be times when returning somebody's debt in a position when that person is not in the stable mind, then it will be wrong. And also, telling truth always cannot be beneficial, but justice is
Hmm.
always beneficial. So
Yeah.
he refused Cephalus' argument in this manner. Then
Hmm.
Polemarchus, who was
Hmm.
the son of Cephalus, he
Hmm.
went on to add on to this by saying that giving each man his due and doing good to friends and doing bad to enemy is justice. But
Right.
again, Socrates refused this statement by saying that uh, helping a friend in a wrong deed is not the correct thing, as in um, it might lead to immoral acts, which is not good. And
Yeah.
he said that finding a good friend is also difficult. So one can be deceived by um, thinking that this person is my friend, but he might not be. And the other thing was that justice doesn't lead to harm to anybody. So even harming to enemy is not justifiable.
Ex-
So
Right.
this way, Socrates refused Polemarchus' statement. And
Very
then
good.
comes Thrasymachus. Thrasymachus was a sophist, so he had like the his statement was more of a reflection of what was going on in the current
Hmm.
politics, and he said that uh, justice is when justice is when the might is always right, and it's always in the interest of stronger. To which Socrates replied that this is not the right thing, as in justice has to be equal, and uh, if a ruler makes rules in favor of only themselves, then it's wrong, because it should be for the entire society, and it should be
Exactly.
helpful to
A good ruler
everybody.
is like good doctor.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Hmm.
And then comes Glaucon, who
Hmm.
says just the opposite of Thrasymachus' statement, that he
Right.
says that justice is is always in the interest of weakest, and
Hmm.
the work of justice is to protect the interest of weakest by
Right.
coming into a contract with the powerful. But
Hmm.
Socrates replies that justice is not a privilege, that
Hmm.
a powerful enjoys and they have to give to the weak. So
Right.
he says that justice has to be like enjoyed by everybody, and
Hmm. Hmm.
this has no distinction between a powerful or a weak, a poor or a rich. So
Hmm.
this was the background of it, and ultimately then Socrates came up to his own idea of justice, which was to follow what is one best suited for, which work one is best suited for, which is
Hmm.
also based upon the three virtues as we
Hmm.
discussed in the last class. And the
Right.
last virtue, as you only told, that is the architectonic virtue, and it harmonizes the other three.
Exactly. Great. Great. Yeah. So, can you write a question on it? Examine Plato's idea of justice. Right? You submit me by today's evening. Right? Word would be
Sure, sir.
200. Right? When you start writing or speaking up, let me tell you, when you start speaking up, then, for example, when I talked about, okay, tell me about Plato's idea of justice, then first you say, like Plato, Republic talked about the concept of justice, right? Where he talks about justice is a virtue, right? It is a virtue which harmonizes and balances the aptitude, a quality of within the soul, right? In the book Republic, there's a great debate on justice among few philosophers, right? Like Cephalus, Polemarchus, Thrasymachus, the Glucon, right? And the Socrates refuted the argument of each philosopher, and he established the theory of justice. ठीक है? तो थोड़ा सा जब आप बोलना भी शुरू करो तो थोड़ा सा रेफरेंस दो, ताकि ये आदत आपको बनी रहे, है ना, लिखने में भी. ठीक है? Got the idea? चलो, today we will talk about his idea of education, theory of education. Now we know that Plato divided soul in three parts, right? And he said that one quality dominates in each individual. One may be the rational soul, one may be the courageous soul, and other may be the soul, right? Yeah, the appetite, the temperance, right? Now, what is the role of the ideal state? No, in an ideal state, what is the role of the state? In an ideal state, each soul shall be trained and educated, right? Then we can establish ideal state. ऐसा नहीं कि ideal state has to recognize only what kind of soul you have. No, the ideal state has to recognize what kind of soul you have, individual has, right? Someone may be rational soul, someone may be courageous soul, or someone may be appetite soul. But ideal state role is a very much larger one. What is the larger one? An ideal state would educate and train each soul for which that soul is suitable to. Are you getting my point? So training, education is an essential part of an ideal state, right? Education is very much essential in ideal state, right? Because without education, we cannot create a good citizen, right? Because without education, we cannot create a good citizen, and without good citizen, we cannot have good society, and without good society, we cannot have a good state. है ना? So, if you look at an ideal state society is divided into three classes, right? What are the three classes? The ruler, the soldier, and the artisan. Artisan, craftsman, manufacturer, right? Now, to nurture and train the soul, education is very much essential so that you can develop that soul in a greater manner. That soul can perform as he is naturally suitable to. Got the idea? Now, if you look at the Plato thought thinks that state is a first and foremost an educational institution. दूसरा कुछ नहीं है. State is a first and foremost an institution of education, right? If if knowledge is a virtue, then it can be taught, right? It can be developed, and it can be developed through only system of education, a good system of education, right? And all improvement can be possible through a good system of education, right? And Plato warned that you cannot, means ideal state cannot give this assignment to the private player to provide education. No, a state should monitor and foster education in its own command, right? A state should monitor and also deliver education. It should not be given to the private hand or commercialized. No, state should take responsibility to provide education, right? Other task is secondary one. If the state is not providing education, then that state is declined, destined to decline. That is his idea, right? Education must be state controlled, right? And it must be compulsory. It is not that you can leave anyone from education. No, all should be educated. Got the idea? That was his importance of education. So you look at, an ideal state. For an ideal state, each soul should be educated, trained. Okay? So that is a basic idea. Now, if you look at his entire, education, he divided education primarily in two parts. One is primary education. He divided education in two parts. I'll dictate you the first, try to understand. Primary education. Right. For the primary education has been divided into two parts. It's called pre-primary. Yani 0 to 6. At this stage, child should be told several types of story about God, story about great man, story about wise people, so that they can develop personality, they can develop courage, and they can be free from fear. बच्चा बहुत डरता रहता है ना, तो उसको fear निकालने के लिए आपको you have to teach them about great soldier, great person, great personalities, about God, right? And then B is primary education. Primary education should be from 6 to 18. Right? At this stage, each individual should be taught, gymnastic and music. Right? इस स्टेज पे क्या करना है? हमें जिम्नास्टिक बताना है, राइट? फर्स्ट, सेकंड, दूसरा म्यूजिक बताना है, तीसरा लिटरेचर बताना है. He emphasized on three things. क्या क्या बताना है इस स्टेज पे? Gymnastic, music, and literature. Why gymnastic? Because we need a healthy body, right? We need a healthy people in an ideal state, right? So gymnastic is very important. Gym is very important. Exercise is very important, right? Right? Because even healthy mind resides in a healthy body. Suna hai na? Healthy mind resides in a healthy body. So gymnastic is very important, right? Secondly, music, because music is a training of mind, right? My teacher used to say that someone, if you take the discipline, general discipline, it is said that philosophy is a supreme knowledge. Gradation of discipline. Philosophy is the greatest knowledge. अगर आप साइंस भी पढ़ते ना, सबका फिलॉसफी है. फर्स्ट फिलॉसफी होगा, उसके बाद उसका प्रैक्टिकल होगा. होता है ना? अगर आप थीसिस लिखेंगे ना, वहां पे आपको पता चलेगा फिलॉसफी इज behind all the knowledge. First you have to philosophize. Philosophy का मतलब ही होता है, आपको बताया है, phil plus sophia, love for wisdom, right? My teacher used to say that, that is music is a supreme knowledge. We used to ask why, sir. He used to say that, music touches heart so soon, other knowledge cannot. And that's why he used to say that music is a great knowledge, right? Music is a, training of mind, right? So he talked about that, one individual should be also trained in mind, not only in body, but also in mind. And then that individual should be, informed with the existing literature, right? And therefore, some quality should be developed, like courage, self-control, gentleness. That should be objective of the education to develop in an individual. Got the idea? Now, after this primary education, there will be compulsory military education. After 18 to 20, there will be compulsory military education for all. Man, woman doesn't differ, right? Doesn't differ. That should be military training for all, 2 years. Still, we find that many countries practices it. Many countries practice this military education, compulsory military education. For example, South Korea. For example, Israel. है ना? ठीक है, इजराइल में भी होता है मिलिट्री ट्रेनिंग, सबके लिए कंपलसरी है 2 साल के लिए. साउथ कोरिया में भी कंपलसरी है. So he said, 2 years there should be military training to each individual. ठीक है? Now after this military training, there shall be one examination. It's called first examination. At this stage, there shall be examination. What would be the examination? What would be the purpose of this examination? Purpose of this examination would be to drop those who have, soul that love money, that love property, that love power, right? Money, power. So, the purpose would be to, analyze the soul, right? And those souls who love property, who love manufacturing, who love trade, that will be dropped from the education. यहाँ पर हमें ड्रॉप कर देना है और उनको बोलना है कि ठीक है, आपका एजुकेशन हो गया, 20 साल तक आप लोगों ने पढ़ा, नाउ यू गो फॉर ट्रेडिंग, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, बिजनेस, राइट, agriculture, farming, go for it. Fine. Now, the next step is called secondary education. This is primary education. Now come to this is their secondary education. Now, secondary education shall be from 20 to 30 years. 20 to 30 years. Right? At this stage, what will you teach? That at this stage, each individual who had already qualified the examination should be trained in science. They should be trained in mathematics. They should be trained in arts. Right? In mathematics, they should be trained in algebra. They should be trained in geometry. Why geometry? Because geometry is very important for military. आपने पढ़ा है ना पैराबोला? किसी ने अगर साइंस पढ़ा होगा, पैराबोला पढ़ा है ना? आप बम कैसे गिराना है या कितने तेज में आप हथियार फेंकोगे तो कहां पे जाके गिरेगी? It's very important. So he said in mathematics, algebra, because algebra will help you to military कैसे रखना है, and the geometry will help you to how to locate the enemy and how to locate your own army. Right? Science will tell you, right, the different updated things, right, how to use the things scientifically, right? Arts will tell you, even astronomy. There's, astronomy, algebra, geometry, And the skills should be taught, because the skills can be taught. He said at this stage there should be some introduction of logic. Logic समझते हो? What is logic? Logic means you something say with own convince. You can prove that. नहीं, with proof, yeah, you can prove that. That is logical. नहीं, जिसको आप proof कर सकते. No, at this stage there should be logic, right? And after this, what would be the purpose of this education? The purpose of this education to inculcate, to cultivate intellectual and inquiry among the students, right? And also courage, right? And after this there will be second examination. यहां पर फिर से एग्जामिनेशन होगा, राइट? और इस एग्जाम को जो पास करेंगे, those who will pass this examination will go for the further education, right? But those who will pass, we will fail, then will join the armed forces. ये आर्मी ज्वाइन कर लेंगे ये लोग, यहां पर इनको छोड़ देना है. आप जाइए आर्मी का देखिए अपना, ठीक है? Because you don't have that kind of soul which needs more education. Got the idea? Then he said further higher education. Further higher education. A further higher education should be from 30 to 35. ये 5 साल, in this 5 year, the ruling class should be taught, philosophy, philosophy of good, the idea of good, the theory of being, जो आपने पढ़ा है, theory of form, right? कि knowledge क्या है, true knowledge क्या है, right? They should be taught idea of good. They should be trained in dialectic, कि अगर किसी से debate करना है तो कैसे debate को जीतना है, right? And they should be, little bit, appointed somewhere. Intern समझते हो ना? Do you understand intern क्या होता है? जब बीटेक हो जाती है आपकी, right? Internship, yes. तो आपको 5-6 महीने के लिए किसी के साथ प्रैक्टिस करने के लिए भेजा जाता है. Similarly, after this stage, in this stage, for a certain period, military will get trained somewhere in administration, somewhere in political offices, somewhere in army offices, because they are also suitable for army, right? So at this stage they will be taught the idea of good, theory of being, dialectic knowledge, right? And uske baad bhi 30 to 35 to at 50 age is called experience. Further they shall get experience in different department of the government, right? In military, in political, in legal, in practical affair, right? And they will contemplate at the same time. They will contemplate. Contemplate means they will debate, discuss philosophy. Philosophy का मतलब, ठीक है? ना philosophy का क्या मतलब है? They contemplate philosophy. फिलॉसफी ये क्या है, ये टेबल है, ये क्या है, ये टेबल है तो क्यों टेबल है? Are you getting my point? Philosophy is something, if you love philosophy, it's great, मतलब it gives you lots of pleasure, right? So they will actually discuss philosophy and they will grasp in this year the idea of good. अभी तक तो पढ़ा है, 35 years तक पढ़ा है, इस 15 साल में they will grasp, because this is experience. Experience बहुत काम आता है, पढ़ाई तो ठीक है, but experience, yes, experience बहुत काम आता है. So in this, during this period, they will, grasp the idea of good. They will digest the idea of good that they had already learned, right? And after this, they will be qualified to become a philosopher king, right? They would be qualified to be a philosopher king, a ruler. Different ministry they can handle, whether it is a defense minister, whether it is a finance minister, whether it is a, other, with the, agriculture minister. They can be. And the best of them would be a philosopher king. He may be woman, he may be man. Got the idea? That is his entire theory of education. It's a very, Rousseau, quoted in his work that Republic is the finest work on education. Finest work on education. Got the idea? Any doubt? कुछ doubt है? हाँ, बोले. See. So what was the purpose of first examination? Purpose of first examination to check the aptitude. Those who have courage or rational. Those souls who have appetite, we have to drop them and to engage them for production, for trading, for crafting, for artisaning, right? For farming and so on and so forth. Got the idea? So these two soul, rational soul and courageous soul will be included in the secondary examination, right? And they will be trained. They will be trained further in military and in education, right? For example, they will be given education of science, mathematics, logic, right? In mathematics, they will be trained in algebra, they will be trained in geometry, right? They will trained in arts, right? They will train in astronomy, right? And further we will examine who have further aptitude to understand the idea of good. क्योंकि समझ ही नहीं सकते ना, right? So those who can't understand the idea of good or theory of being, वो दुनिया समझ ही नहीं सकते, तो आप पढ़ के क्या करोगे? Better you keep this for army. But those who can understand go for the further study. They are also army. Putin, he's a ruler, but he's an army man. हाँ? जब बर्लिन वॉल फॉल हुई थी तो जर्मनी में पोस्टेड था. आपको पता है जो चाइना का जो राष्ट्रपति है, क्या नाम है? Xi Jinping. He's an army person. It's not he's the only ruler. He's also armed. He can fight. Right? It's not India जहां पर प्राइम मिनिस्टर और ये प्रेसिडेंट फाइट नहीं कर सकते. They don't have military training. ना मोदी जी के पास है military training? नहीं है. हाँ? ठीक है? Are you getting it? Now let me tell you where this inspiration he is getting from. Plato जो कह रहा है, तो ये भी समझना पड़ेगा कि where this inspiration Plato is getting from. This inspiration, of course, this theory is of his own. But why he included women when women were not part of the Athenian city-state in ruling? He is getting inspiration from Sparta, where women were an equal fighter as man. And I told you why Sparta won, right? Sparta won because they were courageous and man and woman both were fighters. They had great military skills, right? So he thought that not man, but woman should be also trained, taught and trained so that we can find a great ideal state. Okay? Any query, any question, Ayushi?
No, sir.
क्लियर है ना? अच्छा, इसको लिखवा दूं, फटाफट लिखिए. Write it. Right. Right. Plato's Republic provides comprehensive. Plato Republic provides a comprehensive scheme on education. On education. Rousseau, a noted philosopher, argued that Republic is a best ever written book. Republic is a best ever written text on education. On education. For Plato, if a soul, has natural aptitude, then it can be trained. And education is a good means to train soul in fullest sense. Can be trained. For Plato, if a soul has a natural aptitude, then it can be trained, and education is a good means to train soul in fullest sense. Education is a positive means. Positive means that can transform an individual as good citizen. As good citizen, which can form a good state, a good society. Yeah. Education is a positive means that can transform an individual as a good citizen, which can form a good society that can make an ideal state. इनका पर्पस एक ही है, आइडियल स्टेट बनाना है. ठीक है. आइडियल स्टेट कैसे कैसे बनाना है उसका भी अलग अलग तरीका है. जस्टिस एक तरीका है, एजुकेशन एक तरीका है, पर्पस उनका आइडियल स्टेट है. राइट. मेक एन आइडियल स्टेट. हैव यू रिटन डन? हो गया. लिखिए. इन एन आइडियल स्टेट and in an ideal state, Plato divided soul into three parts: namely rational, courageous, and appetite. Each soul can be trained through a comprehensive scheme of education. What the idea? Plato said that state is the first and foremost institution of education. State is the first and foremost institution of education. If knowledge is a virtue, then it can be cultivated. Then it can be cultivated and developed through education. A state must provide education to all individuals, right? And it should be compulsory for all. Right? Education should not be given in private hand. Education should not be given in private hand. And a state must control. And a state must control and provide education as per requirement. As per requirement of the soul. Education should not be given in a private hand, and the state must control and provide education as per requirement of the soul. Now still we talk about education should not be given in private hand. Have you heard about that debate? If you look at education, in capitalist states like US, India, education has been given in private hand. Not all education. Even if you look at the primary education, if you see the primary education, it is a, private player is a good one. There are many private players. आप लोगों में private school में पढ़ा होगा, right? But when we talk about higher education, still private players are not able to create a higher educational institution in India. State is providing. For example, if you talk about IITs, IIMs, universities like Delhi University, JNU, Banaras Hindu University, Hyderabad Central University, all are public university. State monitor and control university. And there is a voice, against the private education. Why primary education has been diluted in India? Right? There are reasons. Fine. But if you look at a Scandinavian country, have you heard about a Scandinavian country? नहीं सुना है? Ayushi, have you heard about a Scandinavian country?
No, sir.
A Scandinavian countries, have you heard about Norway, Finland? These
Yes, sir.
all constitute Norway, a Scandinavian country. Switzerland, if you look at entire education is provided by state from primary to higher education till higher education, right? And that state are more developed. State provides education, state provides health, Scandinavian countries. Okay? Anyway, if you look at 23 years ago, Plato told us that look, education is very important for us, right? And the state must control and provide education as per the requirement, right? It is it is, he said that it does matter less what a state is doing else. If it is not providing education, that a state is destined to decline. State is destined to decline. वो state खत्म हो जाएगा. ठीक है? ठीक है? Now write a Plato. ये तो आपका कितना 2 पैरा हो गया? 2 पैरा, right? Now write schemes of education. Yeah. Plato's scheme of education. Right, Plato divided education into 2 parts. Two parts. First, primary education. Or it is called elementary education, yeah. Anyway, primary education, yeah. It is further divided into 2 parts, namely pre-primary and primary. यहाँ पे प्राइमरी नहीं, एलिमेंट्री एजुकेशन डाल दीजिए तो, because we are talking about primary and pre-primary, so elementary education divided into 2 parts, pre-primary and primary. At pre-primary stage हम बांट देते हैं, लिखिए pre-primary. Zero to 6. At this stage, a child should be trained through storytelling. Storytelling. Story about great personality and God should be told to child or told to children so that they can remove fear from soul and mind. Right, that is a one objective कि fear हटाना है. Done. हो जाए तो बताइएगा. Write it. लिखवाने का यही क्लासरूम में जितना लिखोगे वो भी आपको हेल्प करेगा. Now B, that is primary. That is 6 to 18. Right, at this stage each children should be trained in gymnastic, and music. One more. Trained in gymnastic, comma, music, and literature. At this stage, each children should be trained in gymnastic, music, and literature. Gymnastic is necessary to strengthen physical body, right? And music is to train mind. Gymnastic is necessary to strengthen physical body, and music is to train mind. Each child should be aware about great literature. Let me tell you, literature is very important in your own life, right? We should know what are the great literature. नहीं, हमारे घर में ले जाते हैं ना नोबेल, आपके गिफ्ट में लोग किताबें दे देते हैं, आप इरिटेट होते हो, यार क्या कुछ अच्छी चीज ले आते, किताबें उठा के ले आए, होता है ना? But yes, that is important. Yes, each child should be aware about great literature, right? And they should develop qualities like self-control, courage, right? And gentleness. Right? Polite भी use कर सकते हैं. Polite, discipline, right? They should develop self-control, disciplined, courage, gentleness, politeness. Got the idea? Now this is the primary education, right? The primary education, right? The primary education followed by a compulsory military training. For 2 years. That is from 18 to 20 years. For each individual. पता है ये पैटर्न फॉलो होता है बहुत कंट्री में. 12वीं के बाद मिलिट्री ट्रेनिंग होती है, 10th के बाद होती है, 12वीं के बाद होती है. 12वीं करते करते इंसान नहीं 18 साल का नहीं होता है. 12वीं करते करते कितने साल का होता है? 14, 16, 17 साल का तो हो जाता है, राइट? बट हाउ इज करेक्ट? Done. Yes, Ayushi, done?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now come to the first examination. First examination. Right. After primary education and military training, each children, अब each individual लिखना पड़ेगा, वो नहीं रहे children, each individual shall attempt a test to reflect upon natural aptitude. नेचुरल एप्टीट्यूड आपको पता है जो सी सेट है उसका नाम क्या है? अभी सी सेट लागू किया है ना? सी सेट क्या है? सी सेट क्या है कि अगर वो एप्टीट्यूड नहीं है तो लोगों को ड्रॉप करना है वहीं पर, है ना? यस यस, क्वालिफाइंग है, लेकिन एक टाइम पे वो क्वालिफाइंग अब हुआ है जब बहुत प्रोटेस्ट हुआ है। जब 2011 में आया था, ये शायद 2011 में आया था, तो क्वालिफाइंग नहीं था, ये भी स्कोरिंग था। और जो साइंस बैकग्राउंड से थे और जो इंजीनियरिंग बैकग्राउंड से थे वो उनके लिए बस जीएस में थोड़ी मेहनत करना है, इधर ही 100 में से 90 ले आना है, ठीक है? पर आर्ट्स पढ़ने वाले बच्चे तो बिदक गए। दे प्रोटेस्टेड, there's a huge protest, right? And then it becomes qualifying. Anyway, so each individual shall attempt a test to reflect upon natural aptitude, right? Those who are suitable to appetite should be dropped from higher education. They should be dropped from higher education. They would be allowed to go for farming, trading, manufacturing, right? Manufacturing, right? And so on. Right? यानी इकोनॉमिक एंगेजमेंट ये लोग संभालेंगे अपना. Right, I should not generalize, but if you know most of I met people from Punjab, not most, मतलब लोगों से मिला, बहुत लोग पंजाबी जो लोग हैं जिनका अपना बिजनेस है, 12वीं के पढ़ने के बाद छोड़ देते पढ़ाई। क्यों छोड़ देते? क्योंकि लास्ट में बोलते हैं कि आप पढ़ के क्या करोगे? पैसे ही तो कमा लोगे, पैसे नहीं कमाओगे। तुम जितना 3 साल बीए करोगे, एमए करोगे, उतना नौकरी करोगे, मैं तुम्हारे से पहले उतना पैसा जमा कर लूंगा और कार में घूमूंगा। तुम स्ट्रगल करोगे कार खरीदने के लिए, हमारे पास ऑलरेडी होगी। लुक एट दैट, इज एप्टीट्यूड, दैट इज एप्टीट्यूड फॉर मनी, राइट? People don't study only for money. Money is one of the way to survive. No, money is nothing. Money is nothing means money is not everything. Money is one thing that can help you, right? In your honor, in your food, filling your stomach, in respecting your guest. Guest भी आते तो चाय पिलाना पड़ता है। नहीं, ऐसे नहीं बोल सकते कि जी मेरे पास पैसा नहीं है ना? तो बोलेगा क्या, कैसा इंसान, कहां पे आ गए? लोग आएंगे भी नहीं। Yes, property is very good, right? We'll tell you there was a debate between Aristotle and Plato about property. Plato कहता है कि प्रॉपर्टी जरूरत नहीं है, एरिस्टोटल कहता है कि जरूरी है भाई साहब। गुरुजी जरूरी है प्रॉपर्टी। जब प्रॉपर्टी नहीं होगी तो लोगों के पास ना सेंस ऑफ ऑनर नहीं रहेगा, अचीवमेंट नहीं रहेगा, लोगों के पास काम करने को मन नहीं करेगा। ठीक है, एनीवे विल टॉक अबाउट इट लेटर ऑन। So they, those who are suitable to appetite should be dropped from higher education, and they would be allowed to go for the further higher education. Shall be provided to guardian class. Guardian classes. And you know guardian classes? It consists two classes. Guardian class में कौन कौन से है? The ruler, then the soldier.
Soldiers.
Army? Yes, you're right. So this is, comprehensive examination. Now second you write higher education. I'm just changing the paper. Now write higher education. Higher education. देखिए, it is dedicated to the guardian class. Guardian classes who have passed the examination and suitable to receive education. ये लोग सुटेबल है, एजुकेशन रिसीव कर सकते हैं। अब जो लोग सुटेबल नहीं है उनको एजुकेशन देने से भी कोई फायदा नहीं है प्लेटो के हिसाब से। अगर किसी को बिजनेस ही करना है, अगर उसके पापा जो मान लीजिए पंजाबी जिसका बिजनेस है, उसको मन लग रहा है बिजनेस में, उसको पहले कॉलेज जा, तू कॉलेज जा, बोलेगा पापा बुलेट दे दो फिर कॉलेज जाऊंगा, या कार दे दो तब कॉलेज जाऊंगा। वहां पर जाएगा, हाँ भाई चल चल वहां हम जाते हैं खाने के लिए, वो गाड़ी में बैठेगा, 4 दोस्तों को बिठाएगा, डिंग चिक जाएगा। हाँ देखा है, दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी में बहुत होता है, राइट। आई एम जस्ट मेटाफरिंग पंजाबी इज अ मेटाफर फॉर मी। एनीवन कैन, जिसका घर बिजनेस है, बहुत चीजें हैं, वो उसके पापा ने पढ़ने के लिए भेजा है, वो क्या करेगा, अपना घर का बड़ी सा कार ले आएगा, 4 दोस्तों को बिठाएगा और अच्छे से रेस्टोरेंट में जाएगा, राइट। उसको डेमोन्स्ट्रेट करना है, ठीक है, और फिर बोलेगा भाई नोट्स दे देना मुझे यार, राइट। आई यू सी, डज इट हैपन? I'm studied from DU, so I am experiencing.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I have studied in Hansraj.
होता है ना?
Yes, sir.
राइट। नोट्स दे देना लास्ट टाइम, पूरे साल आपको खिलाएगा पिलाएगा, ठीक है। मैं नोट्स देने वालों में से था, ठीक है। चलिए, so it is dedicated to the guardian classes who have passed the examination and suitable to receive education, right? At this stage, individual should be trained or should be educated in science, arts, logic and mathematics, astronomy and mathematics. Right? Plato focused on mathematics, especially on education of algebra, and क्या बोला था मैंने, अलजेब्रा एंड ज्योमेट्री. Geometry, because it helps army yeah, to arrange their battalions, right? And and to locate enemy's position. Enemy's पोजीशन. इसलिए इन्होंने कहा कि ज्योमेट्री और अलजेब्रा बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है कि अपने आप आर्मी को कैसे लोकेट करना है, राइट? लॉजिक इज नेसेसरी फॉर कल्टिवेटिंग रीजन. लॉजिक इज इंपॉर्टेंट टू cultivate region, right? Region. And region and deliberation. Deliberation मतलब डिबेट, हाँ, संवाद जिसको बोलते हैं. दिल्ली डायलॉग सुना है, संवाद जो बोलते हैं, संवाद करते हैं, आइए संवाद करते हैं. Deliberation. Right, so this is a higher education. ठीक है. Now come to the second examination. Right, it is to test again, it is to test which soul is most suitable to understand the theory of being, right? And philosophy of good. It is to test which soul is most suitable to understand the theory of being and the philosophy of good. Those who would fail this test would join army, and those who passed can further join for education. Got the idea? Now write further higher education. Further higher education. Yeah. At this stage, the ruling class shall be trained in dialectic, logic, the idea of good, आइडिया ऑफ गुड में ना जी को कैपिटल लिखेगा हमेशा, मैंने जहां भी देखा है गुड को यहां पर आइडिया ऑफ गुड कैपिटल ही देखा है, आइडिया ऑफ गुड एंड द थ्योरी ऑफ बीइंग, थ्योरी ऑफ फॉर्म लिख सकते हैं, फॉर्म और बीइंग, राइट, जो रियल वर्ल्ड है, द आइडिया का जो दुनिया है। एट द सेम टाइम, there shall be trend, there shall be trend in political, legal, administrative, and in political, legal and administrative offices. यहां पे इनको ट्रेनिंग मिलेगी उनके साथ, बड़े लोगों के साथ, जिसको हम बोलते हैं इंटर्नशिप अभी, राइट। So that is further higher education. They will be trained in few things like dialectic. Dialectic means deliberation, कैसे deliberate करना है. Logic means rationality, कैसे develop करना है, right? Then idea of good, you know कि public good क्या है, क्या हो सकता है, and then theory of being, वो जो दुनिया है, जो ज्ञान की दुनिया, वो क्या है, ठीक है? Knowledge of virtue कहाँ है, क्या है वो? They principally they will inquire the theory of knowledge. Got the idea? And they will at the same time they shall be trained in political, legal, administrative offices. ठीक है? Now लिखिए the yes legal मतलब ज्यूरी, जो जज रहेंगे ना उन्हीं के साथ उनको बिठा देना है कि देखो जब जज बनोगे तो कैसे करोगे। आपको अभी भी पता है जो जज अपॉइंट होते हैं उनको 2 साल प्रोबेशन पीरियड में रखा जाता है। अगर आप एग्जामिनेशन निकालेंगे यूपीएससी, आपको 2 साल प्रोबेशन पीरियड में रखा जाएगा। यू विल नॉट बी एन आईएएस फॉर द फर्स्ट 2 years. You will be trained in different institution. You will be posted. Even if you are posted, you will not be an IAS, right? You will be with an IAS. You will see how work is going on, how to handle the things, right? And then you will be posted IAS. ठीक है? तो प्रोबेशन पीरियड समझ लीजिए, उनको प्रोबेशन पीरियड में ऐसे भेजना है उनको। अभी भी जज है, मेरे 4 दोस्त जज हैं, तो उनको शुरू में भेजा गया तो ऐसे ही 6 महीने इनको बैठना है और कुछ नहीं करना। हाँ, अच्छा, आपके भैया भी है, ग्रेट। तो उनको बैठाते हैं, बस कुछ नहीं करना है आपको, ठीक है? तो चलो लिखिए, दैट इज, ये हो गया फर्दर हायर एजुकेशन। अच्छा, इसका एज मैंने नहीं लिखा, ये थे एज कितना है इसका, 30 तक का, 30 to 35। ये एज किस टाइम पे ये काम करेंगे, ये 30 to 35 एज पे। अभी भी देखो ना, आपको पीएचडी में क्या सिखाया जाता है, पीएचडी का जनरल एज कितना है, 30 ईयर से पहले कोई पीएचडी नहीं करता है। पीएचडी में व्हाट इज एमफिल पहले होती थी, पता है आपको? एमफिल, एमए के बाद एमफिल एक डिग्री होती थी, मास्टर ऑफ फिलोसफी। फिलोसफी में आपको डिबेट करना सिखाया जाता है। पीएचडी में क्या सिखाया जाता है? पीएचडी में आपको डायलेक्टिक सिखाया जाता है कि कैसे आपको प्रूफ करना है कोई भी चीज है। ऑफ कोर्स आप रैशनल चीजें चूज करेंगे, ऐसे नहीं कि आप कुछ भी प्रूफ करने के लिए चल दे कि हाँ जी सही है ये भी, हाँ कि मोदी जी हर बात में सही है, प्रूफ करिए, नहीं कर सकता कोई, ठीक है? ठीक है, लॉजिक सिखाई जाती है, लेकिन और उसका एज कितना होता है? मोस्ट ऑफ द यूनिवर्सिटी यू कैन फाइंड पीएचडी लोग 30-35। मेरा जो पीएचडी हुआ था, देन आई वाज 34, 33-34 होता है। चलिए लिखिए एक्सपीरियंस, या experience, then write 35 to 50 years. अब इस साल में इनको एक्सपीरियंस करना है, तो कितना हार्ड एजुकेशन है, राइट? देखिए, all rulers will get experience for the next 15 years in military, legal, administrative, comma, political, and practical affair of the state. Practical affairs of the state. They would engage in contemplation, philosophy, right, and grasp the idea of good. जो आइडिया ऑफ गुड लर्न किया है इन्होंने उसको ग्रास्प करेंगे, डाइजेस्ट करेंगे, राइट? They would be in position to do good for society and ready to govern the state and can become a philosopher king. A philosopher king, yeah. Look at his idea of education. पढ़ लिया, ग्रास्प करिए इसके एजुकेशन को, थ्योरी ऑफ एजुकेशन को. You'll find one of the most finest, philosopher who talked about education. One of the finest philosopher on education. समझ में आया? ठीक है? Fine. Now, any doubt if you have? कोई डाउट रह गया हो कि सर ये समझ नहीं आया, कोई वर्ड का मतलब समझ में नहीं आया, लाइक कंटेम्पलेशन, फिलोसफी, आइडिया ऑफ गॉड, राइट, लॉजिक, साइंस, आर्ट, सब वर्ड. कंटेम्पलेशन मतलब होता है, सिंपल अगर वर्ड बताऊं मैं, इट इज डिबेट, but it is more than debate. Contemplation means not only you speak, but you also inquire what I have spoken, right? And when you are countered, you have to recounter, right? If you look at, for example, contemplation is a debate among the intellectuals. डिबेट तो सिंपल, जिसमें बज की आवाज होती है, बहुत आराम बातचीत करते हैं लोग, हल्ला भी मचाते हैं, मारपीट भी उतर आते हैं ना, राइट? पार्लियामेंट में भी होता है, अपने जूते उते खोल लेते हैं एक दूसरे के ऊपर फेंकने के लिए, देखा है? चौक चौराहे पे भी आप डिबेट होते होते कब झगड़ा में टर्न हो जाए पता नहीं. बट कॉन्टेम्पलेशन इज अ वेरी इन्फॉर्म्ड डिबेट, a debate among the intellectuals. जैसे कॉन्फ्रेंस होता है, आपने किसी कॉन्फ्रेंस का नाम सुना है? जहां पर कॉन्फ्रेंस में बड़े बड़े लोगों को बुलाया जाता है, इंटेलेक्चुअल को बुलाया, पार्टी कॉन्फ्रेंस, पॉलिटिकल पार्टी कॉन्फ्रेंस नहीं. कॉन्फ्रेंस यानी जैसे G20 का मीटिंग हो रही है, यहाँ पे वर्ल्ड लीडर आएंगे और ये आपस में कंटेम्पलेट करेंगे कि ओके, इन्वायरमेंट का क्या इशू है, या how we can tackle China and Russia or undemocratic world, how we can promote democracy, right? So that would be called contemplation, right? It is a debate of higher level. It is a debate of higher level, है ना? संवाद जिसको हिंदी में बोलते हैं, और डिबेट को बोलते हैं वाद विवाद, बोलते हैं ना, कॉलेज में हम डिबेट करते हैं, डिबेटिंग सोसाइटी होती है, वाद विवाद सोसाइटी. Contemplation is a better word, right? समझ में आया? Yeah. Anything else? हाँ हाँ. How is Plato's scheme of education is relevant in contemporary time? ठीक है. Now, have you gone through new education policy? Now, in new education policy, गए हो, पढ़ा है, कुछ थोड़ा थोड़ा नॉलेज है इसके बारे में? क्या है? Yeah, if you look at many features of the new education policy is very much similar to the idea proposed by Plato. Right, so first you need to talk about Plato, his idea of education, and then talk about new education policy, where it is said that a state would be the primary agency to provide education. Right, and we now in the new education policy, early childhood care is being given importance, right, from the age of 3 to 6. हाँ, पहले तो ये इनका प्लेटो का लिखना है, फिर इंडियन, ऑफ कोर्स इंडियन पॉलिसी की बात करती है कि हाउ इंडियन न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी इज लिटिल सिमिलर टू द प्लेटोज आइडिया ऑफ जस्टिस, हाउ प्लेटो आइडिया ऑफ जस्टिस हैज इन्फ्लुएंस्ड न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी. ठीक है, थोड़ा बताना है बस, हो गया, कंक्लूड कर देना है. ठीक है, नाउ वी आर टॉकिंग इंटरडिसिप्लिनरी. वी आर टॉकिंग, पहले क्या था, जो बच्चे साइंस पढ़ रहे वो कॉमर्स नहीं पढ़ेंगे, जो कॉमर्स है वो आर्ट्स नहीं पढ़ेंगे. अब क्या है, एक पेपर आप कॉमर्स का ले लीजिए, एक पेपर आर्ट्स का ले लीजिए, एक पेपर साइंस का ले लीजिए. नाउ इंटरडिसिप्लिनरी, ही इज टॉकिंग अबाउट इंटरडिसिप्लिनरी, ही इज नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट स्टूडेंट शुड बी टॉट साइंस पर्टिकुलरली, आर्ट्स पर्टिकुलरली. जिसको आर्ट्स पढ़ाओ उसको साइंस मत पढ़ाओ, साइंस पढ़ाओ उसको मैथमेटिक्स मत पढ़ाओ. ही डजंट टॉक लाइक दिस. He talks that, art, science, geometry, mathematics, astronomy should be taught. Right? And he focused on mathematics because that mathematics, becomes a very useful for army. Right? For army. ठीक है? Even आपका जो NDA का एग्जामिनेशन होता है, have you heard about NDA? National Defense Academy? आर्ट्स का स्टूडेंट नहीं जा सकता उसमें. Why? Maths is very important. Maths is very important. ठीक है, वो अगर आर्ट्स का स्टूडेंट जाना तो वहां पर जाइए, सीडीएस से जाइए, एनडीए में नहीं जाने देगा आपको, बिकॉज ऑफ द मैथमेटिक्स. ठीक है, मैथमेटिक्स बहुत जरूरी है. और इवन मैथमेटिक्स एनडीए, मान लीजिए 25 बच्चे ने क्लियर कर लिया है, 25 में से वो हो सकता है एक का सिलेक्शन हो या ना हो. लेट मी टेल यू, एट वन फ्रॉम वन सेंटर 250 में से 2 लोगों को सिलेक्ट करते हैं. वो 250 लोग गया है एनडीए को क्लियर करके, 2 लोगों को सिलेक्ट करते हैं. बहुत चीजें दिखी जाती है. एनीवे, तो मैथमेटिक्स थोड़ा समझ में आया, हाउ हिज एजुकेशन इज, व्हाई वी स्टडी प्लेटो, राइट. ही इज अ क्लासिकल फिलोसोफर, राइट. एंड ऐसा नहीं कि प्लेटो का सिग्निफिकेंस 25 साल बाद खत्म हो जाएगा. नो, प्लेटो विल बी सिग्निफिकेंट, प्लेटो विल बी क्लासिकल. ही इज क्लासिकल फिलोसोफर, ही इज एजलेस, ही इज टाइमलेस, ही शैल बी रेलिवेंट फॉर ऑल द टाइम. राइट, ठीक है. और जो मैंने क्वेश्चन लिखा था आपको, वर्च्यू इज नॉलेज, उसका नहीं मिला है, लिख करके एक पेज लिखो. आपने सेंड करा था, लिखा हुआ, अच्छा सेंड कर दीजिएगा. राइट, अदरवाइज यू कैन गिव मी हैंड कॉपी. यस, आपका चेक हो गया. अच्छा, समझ में आया, आगे बढ़ू. नाउ वी विल टॉक अबाउट थियरी ऑफ कम्युनिज्म. Here in page number 22, you'll have some question. Discuss Plato's scheme of education. How is Plato's scheme of education relevant in contemporary time? Comment, virtue is knowledge. Socrates, a life unexamined is not worth living, and knowledge is the question, is the knowledge of the universal good. देखो तीनों जो 3, 4, 5 जो लैंग्वेज क्वेश्चन है ना, सेम क्वेश्चन है, अलग अलग भाषा में पूछा गया है. I see you have access to that page. There are 3 questions. Virtue is knowledge, a life unexamined is not worth living, and knowledge is the question, is knowledge is the universal good. All 3 questions are same. Answer same होगा. आप जैसे knowledge is virtue लिखे तो ये कोट करे कि Plato said that a life unexamined is not worth for living. कहीं पे कोट कर दीजिए. He further said, he said that a knowledge in the question is the knowledge in the question होगा, is नहीं होगा, typo error है. Knowledge in the question is the knowledge of the universal God. Knowledge in the question, ठीक है, उसको करेक्ट कर लीजिए. टाइपो एरर है, टाइप में एरर कर दिया गया है. Knowledge in the question is the knowledge for the universal God. Right? He talked about inquiry and he said, that we do or act any wrong because of lack of knowledge. Right? We live in ignorance, and without lack of knowledge, we don't know the reality, the real world. What is the real world? The world of idea. Right? Which is a perpetual, which is a perfect, which is transcendent. Right? It never dies like a soul. Right? Soul never died. Body decays, but soul never died. Right? Knowledge is a virtue and it can be cultivated. So लिखिएगा ना, ठीक है? So try to write. Now we will move to theory of communism. तो अब प्लेटो को अच्छे से ग्रास्प करने की कोशिश करिए, पढ़ने की नहीं. पढ़ तो हमने लिया है, मैंने समझा दिया आपको, आप समझ गए, बट मुझे सिखाना है आपको प्लेटो. समझाने और सिखाने में अंतर होता है. Why I'm going gradually. Purpose is also one. You try to grasp Plato. I told you that some philosophers said, the original philosophy is a philosophy by the Plato. The rest philosophy is the footnotes of the Plato. Right? और कभी भी किसी फिलोसफर को बताते हुए मुझे पूछ लेना, सर प्लेटो से लिंक करिए, तो कैसे लिंक करते हैं? I will link it definitely. Right? I will link it. चाहे वो मैं आपको मिल पढ़ा रहा हूं, चाहे आपको मार्क्स पढ़ा रहा हूं, चाहे मैं आपको एरिस्टोटल पढ़ा रहा हूं, प्लेटो से लिंक है हर चीज. ठीक है? उसी को अलग वे में बताया गया है. ठीक है? प्लेटो ने ऐसे कहा, उसी को हमने अपोज कर दिया, बट रेफरेंस तो प्लेटो ही है. फाइन, ओके. नाउ लेट मी टेल यू द थ्योरी ऑफ कम्युनिज्म. थ्योरी ऑफ कम्युनिज्म. अच्छा, कम्युनिज्म का क्या मतलब होता है भाई? What do you mean by communism? बहुत लोग डरते हैं. हाँ, सरकार बोलती है वामपंथी. हिंदी में वामपंथी बोलते हैं. वामपंथ नहीं पता है आपको? हिंदी में बोलते हैं वामपंथ. अच्छा, कम्युनिज्म का क्या मतलब है?
Collective.
Yeah, go ahead.
So does it mean collective? As in
Yeah.
communism talks about how everybody should have ownership instead of private ownerships.
Yeah. Community refers to an idea. Communism, community से आया है. It refers to an idea that anything should be shared in common. Friends in common. दोस्तों में होता है ना, अरे ये मेरा चल मेरा है, चल ये मेरा भी है, जितना तेरा है उतना मेरा भी है. हाँ, तो जो हम शेयर करते हैं, that is community. And if you believe that things are shareable, that you believing in communism. बच्चों को बोलते हैं ना, sharing is caring, right? मम्मा पापा सिखाते बेटा शेयर करना सीखो, लेकिन इंसान का जो नेचुरल है वो शेयर करना नहीं सिखाता है. वो बच्चा लड़ाई करता है, कोई भी चीज को लेकर के, अगर पिज्जा है तो वो हड़प लो पूरा, एंड खाओ ना खाओ वो अलग बात है, बट बच्चा चाहता है कि पूरा मुझे मिल जाए, और पेरेंट्स बताते नो बेटा वी शुड शेयर इट, राइट? Sometimes we say that we share equally, sometimes we say that share unequally, right? Depends on the circumstances. So communism refers to an idea, or idea that things can be shared among community, right? And there should be community ownership. I'm not a private owner of that anything. पहले क्या होता था, आप लोग गांव से नहीं है, अभी भी हमारे गांव में जो तालाब है वो हम लोग कम्युनिटी शेयर करते हैं, ऑनरशिप है, किसी का पर्सनल नहीं है, वो पूरा कम्युनिटी, चारों तरफ का कम्युनिटी है, उनका है, और सब लोग उसको यूज करते हैं, यूटिलाइज करते हैं, राइट? उसमें से मछली निकलती है तो सबके घर में जाती है, और अकॉर्डिंग टू रिक्वायरमेंट जाती है। किसी के घर में 20 लोग हैं तो उनके घर में उस हिसाब से जाता है, किसी घर में कि 2 लोग हैं तो 20 वो 25 किलो लेके क्या करेगा, 20 किलो लेके क्या करेगा, तो उसके घर में उस हिसाब से जाती है। बट ये नहीं कहता कि ये इसको इतना क्यों दिया और ये कितना क्यों, क्योंकि इतनी इसकी जरूरत है, उसको पता है मैं लेके क्या करूंगा, राइट? और होता क्या है जनरली, अब क्या वी ऑल आर बिकम इकोनॉमिक, और कि होता क्या है, इसको सेल कर दिया जाता है, ठीक है, और जो भी पैसा है सब में बांट दिया जाता है, तो पैसा में तो सब बोलेगा इक्वली चाहिए मुझे। अब जो इकोनॉमिक में मतलब प्रैक्टिकल जो अब होने लगा है, पहले पैसे का इतना नहीं था। इफ यू टॉक अबाउट 90, मतलब तो मैं 1980 में तो मेरा जन्म भी नहीं हुआ था, बट माई इफ आई हियर फ्रॉम माई पेरेंट एंड ग्रैंड पेरेंट, देयर वाज नो सच यूजेस ऑफ मनी, राइट? लोग आराम से ले जाओ यार, मान लो किसी घर में, मान लो कि आलू हो रहा है किसी घर में, अरे ले जा कोई बात नहीं, ठीक है, बट पैसा बोलेगा कोई ले जा, रुपया नहीं देगा एक, हाँ, बड़ा मुश्किल है। हाउ मनी हैज करप्टेड पीपल, अदरवाइज मनी हैज अ गुड आइडिया कि एक्सचेंज के लिए काम करेगा, बट मनी हैड आल्सो करप्टेड पीपल। नहीं किया है, बार्टर सिस्टम वाज मच गुड, ठीक है, आपके यहाँ कुछ दूसरा चीज होता, मैं ले आऊंगा कभी, आप में अभी ले जाओ, एनीवे। So got the idea of share communism. Communism is a system of social organization in which all property is owned by the community. ठीक है, जो भी कंट्रीब्यूशन होता है वो कम्युनिटी करती है, और जो भी रिक्वायरमेंट होता है कम्युनिटी को, वो उससे लेता है। Got the idea? So right, communism refers to a social organization, a social and economic system in which all resources are owned by community, and it is shared among community, and it is shared among community according to their need. अपनी नीड के हिसाब से वो शेयर किया जाता है। दैट इज सिंपल मीनिंग ऑफ कम्युनिज्म, राइट? इफ यू लुक एट ट्रेडिशनल सोसाइटी, वी बिलीव्ड इन कम्युनिज्म, चीजें कॉमन थी, किसी का कोई प्राइवेट नहीं था, ठीक है? बेसिकली व्हेन वी से दैट, देन वी कैन कॉल कलेक्टिव ओनरशिप। कलेक्टिव ओनरशिप, मान ली 10 लोगों ने मिलकर के एक सामान खरीदा है, कुछ भी, राइट? एंड वी ऑल आर यूजिंग एज पर आवर रिक्वायरमेंट, दैट इज कम्युनिज्म। बेसिक आइडिया समझ में आया? नाउ लेट मी टॉक अबाउट प्लेटोज आइडिया। ये कम्युनिज्म का आइडिया है। In communism, we share resources as per our need, our requirement. We also contribute in that resources, of course, right? As per our abilities. ठीक है, communism का मतलब clear है? Now come to the Plato idea of communism. Plato ideas of communism. Now, if you look at Plato proposed the idea of communism only for the guardian classes. बोला कि ये जो आइडिया है ना ये गार्जियन क्लासेस के लिए होना चाहिए, right? And he excluded artisans, manufacturers, traders, farmers from this category. Why he proposed idea of communism for guardian classes, right? You know, guardian classes has two classes, the ruler and the soldier, the army man. Why he proposed for the guardian classes? Because guardian classes would be the major one who govern the ideal state, right? And that's why it is needed for the guardian class. Guardian class would the major, would govern the entire ideal state, whether it is a military, whether it is administration, whether it is a law of court, whether it is a political offices. They will be governed by army, governed by the guardian classes, and that's why this would be good for him, right? And he's talking about communism of family and communism of property. उन्होंने बोला कि देखो एक तो चीज है प्रॉपर्टी नहीं होगी किसी के पास, इनके पास, क्योंकि प्रॉपर्टी क्यों नहीं होगी? बिकॉज प्रॉपर्टी मेक्स पीपल करप्ट. Property is a source of corruption. Private property influences power. It influences politics. Plato was very, very unhappy with the condition of the existing condition when people were using public office for the private gains. Public were using private office for the public office for the private gains. Even if you relate it to the contemporary time, लोग यूज करते हैं नहीं, नेता वगैरह करते हैं, सारा कॉन्ट्रैक्ट अपने भाई बहन को इधर को उधर को दे देते हैं. हाँ, उसके नाम से 10 कॉलेज स्कूल खोल लेते हैं आसपास. What do they do? Basically, they use public office for the private gains, and consequently, you can see that corruption, moral degradation, right, and huge inequality. राइट एक कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी में एक एमएलए है जिसके पास इतनी प्रॉपर्टी है और मासेस पुअर है. आपको पता है इंडियन पार्लियामेंट में 10 में से 9 जो एमपी है वो करोड़पति है. 10 जो एमपी है उसमें से 9 करोड़पति है. क्या ये करोड़पति लोग सोचेंगे कि गरीबों को क्या मिलना चाहिए? नहीं सोचेंगे, बस राशन के लिए सोच लेंगे कि चलो भाई तुम राशन खा लो, वोट के समय पे आके वोट दे देना. बट विल दे थिंक अबाउट देयर एजुकेशन? वो राशन के लिए सोचेंगे, उनको जिंदा रखना जरूरी है क्योंकि मर जाएंगे तो बवाल हो जाएगा, इसीलिए राशन देना जरूरी. लास्ट वीक और लास्ट मंथ गवर्नमेंट अनाउंस्ड दैट इट विल प्रोवाइड फूड टू 81 करोड़ पीपल under food security program, food security act, FSA. Have you heard about IUC, this knowledge? Now why this food security act to 81 crore? To protect them.
There was this news article about freebies.
Yeah, freebies. So freebies is something different. We'll talk about in Indian politics. But if you look at the party are elites. लोग बीजेपी की पार्टी को देखिए या कांग्रेस को देख लीजिए या लेफ्ट पार्टी के एमपी को देख लीजिए, सूट बूट, राइट. मैंने सुना है राहुल गांधी का टी शर्ट कितने का था? 1000 का, राइट? आप सिंपल एक नेता की जो जैकेट होता है उसका कॉस्ट पूछ लीजिए, वो भी हजारों में होता है। तो राहुल गांधी इतना नहीं है कि 70,000 का या 80,000 का जो भी पहना हुआ था, राइट? नाउ बट लुक एट द पुअर, दे डोंट हैव, हाँ, व्हाट इज मेजर अचीवमेंट?
गवर्नमेंट ने कहा था ये बहुत बड़ी अचीवमेंट है कि 1 करोड़
फूड देना। शर्म की बात है। It is shame for us that still we need to provide food to 81 crore rupees, 80 crore people. That means they are unable to survive for themselves. They don't have employment. They don't have employment, right? They are living in extreme poverty. अगर फूड नहीं प्रोवाइड करेंगे तो मर जाएंगे, right? They have living in extreme poverty. It is shameful that we need, we are providing 81 crore people food. शर्म की बात है भाई, हम किसी को फूड देने की जरूरत ना हो, कितना? It means we all are capable to produce ourselves. अपना खाना के इंतजाम करने। आप जब बड़े हो जाते हैं ना, मम्मी पापा भी आपको बोलते हैं बेटा अपना देखो, अपना इंतजाम करना, right? Be capable to produce yourself. मुझे मत देना, अपना देख लो, अपना जुगाड़ कर लो, right? So government should enhance capability of each individual so that they can survive themselves. They should not be dependent. अगर वो 81 करोड़ डिपेंडेंट है, समझ लीजिए कि इसमें से कितनी करोड़ जो लोग हैं वो इस कंडीशन में रह रहा है कि अगर आप नहीं देंगे तो मर जाएगा, right? They are living in hunger, right? So it's not, ये मतलब गर्व की बात नहीं है, शर्म की बात है। Parties are becoming more elite and voters are becoming more poor, right? Your MLA, MP are becoming crorepati, but general people are becoming, deprived of the basic amenities. Anyway, let me take about property. So he talked about the guardian class will not possess property, right? Or any property that would be in common. Like there will be barrack, there will be, a canteen, right? Food, right? There will be anything that would be in common. अच्छा, ये property आएगी कहां से? They will receive the required property from the artisan class in the form of taxes and so on and so forth. They would not, acquire personal property because personal property makes individual corrupt, right? The one sort of property also instigate person to acquire more and more, right? And politicians, the guardian class can misuse the public office for the private gain, right? And that's why he prohibited property only to the guardian class, ruling class and the army class, right? And they will stay in common. Got the idea? Similarly, they also prohibited family. Family means he rejected the monogamous institution कि हमारा फैमिली होगा फिर हमारे बच्चे होंगे, नो, ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं होगा, right? Plato abolished permanent monogamous sexual relation between man and woman. What he talks about, that state will control, right, and regulate the system of sexual intercourse. The best and ablest man and best and ablest woman will bring together, will be, brought together through festivals, through something, right? And they will be allowed to produce the best and ablest child. Once woman give birth to the baby, she will go to for the state work, right? The work prescribed for them. And all child will be in one barrack. The woman will come and feed child. They don't know who are my child. जो मिले उसको दूध पिला के आपको चले जाना है, right? Even the parent would not know who is the real child of them. Only philosopher king will know कि कौन सा child किसका है, right? तो ऐसे हमें बच्चे को बढ़ाना, आगे बढ़ाना है, right? And he prohibited family. Again, family is also, you know, source of accumulating property, right? So he prohibited two things, property and family, only to the guardian classes, right? Rest he allowed artisan classes to grow, to keep property, to keep family, right? And so on and so forth. And he thought that this idea of communism will keep unity in the state. That is ideal state. Right idea. So he talked about, you know, prohibition of property and prohibition of family. I'll dictate you day after tomorrow, right? Whatever I have taught you, just try to digest. ठीक है, पढ़िए, डेलिब्रेशन करिए, थोड़ा और समझिए, क्योंकि इंटरेस्ट लाएगा तभी जब आप सीख पाएंगे इसको. ठीक है, ये अर्ली स्टेज है, और एक बार इंटरेस्ट आ गया कोई दिक्कत नहीं उसके बाद. Fine. So I'll dictate you idea of communism in the next class. Fine? Yeah. From March 1, I'll take regularly, right? 2.5 hours, maybe. ठीक है? And I'll be regular and I'll be, you know, थोड़ा इस बीच में just try to develop interest. आपने लिया है, right? अपने interest लिया, थोड़ा और इसको grasp करेंगे, then you'll develop more interest in it. Right? Write the question which I have given to you. ठीक है? Okay, Ayushi?